Hi, Lou Pulsfer here, and I guess what I'm going to talk about today is ways that people assume a game must be played that are not in fact true. In this case, I'm talking about the game Diplomacy, which is one of the great games ever invented, great board games, originally from 1959. It has quite a reputation because it is a game of secret negotiation and World War I, and 7 players duke it out. And often there's a lot of backstabbing involved, alliances made and broken, lies told. And the game actually encourages this. The rules encourage cheating. Now, the assumption then by many people, and in this case by somebody at a convention, is that you have to backstab to succeed at diplomacy. That's not true, and I have the experience myself of it, and I think I can even explain why. But first of all, I'll describe my method. Of course, in diplomacy, you're outnumbered 6 to 1. So you've got to make deals to get help and to help other people. And the game includes the support order, which is a way that you can help another player's army or navy or fleet get somewhere. In fact, diplomacy, oddly enough, is one of the most cooperative games in the world, even as it's one of the most cutthroat, because you have to cooperate with other players to win, almost invariably. Well, my method when I played, and this was back in the era of playing by mail, so games could last 3 years or so, I told people I was not going to lie to them. I wasn't necessarily going to tell them all the truth, but I was not going to lie to them. If I made an alliance, I would keep it, and I played that way. And of course, I also told them if they backstabbed me, then I would throw everything at them and make sure they didn't win. So that's the way I played, and I could do this because I had better strategic acumen, you might call it, than most of the other players. And I realized that you had to be concerned with everything that happens on the board, even on the other side of the world when you're England and there's Turkey on the other side there. I would make alliances with particular expiration dates, which is, of course, what happens in the real world. And so I didn't have to necessarily backstab somebody because at that expiration date we could fight or we could make another alliance or whatever. Now, this might lead to a number of draws rather than outright victories, but I was fine with a draw because to me a draw is a partial victory. There are lots of other people for whom a draw is somehow bad and second place is better. This is something I don't understand in the least, but it would be difficult to perhaps play the way I prefer to play if you were one of those people who liked second place. I don't know, maybe it'd be easier. Well, my purpose here, of course, was to get to the point where I had a reputation that people believed me when I said that, and I backed it up by behaving that way, and so I was much more likely to get alliances with players than other people. And it worked quite well, and I had a really good record. Now, long after that, I ran into some research from game theory people about the prisoner's dilemma, which is a simple game where you can be cooperative or uncooperative. And if both players are cooperative, then both improve their lot. If one player is cooperative and the other player is uncooperative, the uncooperative player prospers and not the cooperative player. And what research showed using bots or programs to play the game, because it's a very simple game, there's just one move, they found that a cooperative program would do better in the long run if there were many plays of the game. And an uncooperative program would do poorly. But if there was only one play of a game, then the uncooperative program would prosper and the cooperative program would not. So in effect, I was doing the cooperative side and I was playing many games at the same time and many games serially. So it turns out you don't have to play diplomacy as a cutthroat, backstab, and lifelong friendships and so on. But most people play it that way. And if you're only playing one time with somebody, then the cooperative method may not work. You have to play a lot and get a reputation that you back up and that is effective. I think this method would work in many other games where there can be lots of backstabbing and cooperation, but I haven't tried it. Of course, there are games where when you make a deal, you have to go through with the deal, and there are games where it's kind of the opposite, where you're expected not to go through with the deal. But in diplomacy, it can go either way. Anyway, thanks for listening.